white people, don't ever say that shit. If I catch you saying that shit, listen, I'm not the type of nigga that's gonna do anything to you. Just on some like, I'm avoidant. I'm anxious avoidant. What up? Welcome back to the one and the only, the Creme World Podcast, presented by your beautiful, skin glowingest host, Creme Brulee. I'm here in the recesses of the night, locked in, ready to give you a piece of A1 content. One of the most this is going to be the most this podcast of all time. IDK, I came in with some, you got to bring the energy. It's one of those fake it till you make it energy things. That's my advice to you. Also my advice, if anyone wants to know the drink rotation right now, I have my bottle of water with my frozen mangoes in it. I have a cup of jasmine tea. I have my Red Bull, and I also have a Celsius. Now, you've heard me talk before about how I never thought I would drink Red Bull, as you know, when I first was introduced to it, and here I am pumping the stuff. I cannot believe I'm drinking an open Celsius. If you told the me of 1 year ago today that I was consensually drinking a Celsius, I would tell you things have gone terribly, and they haven't. I'm just tired. What this Celsius was crazy, bro. I've been drinking this for about a week. This is so I have to like sometimes drive. Sometimes I'll have like a show in Portland. I live in Seattle. Sometimes I'll have a show in Portland and then have to work the next day. So I've 2 or 3 times in the past couple months since I moved here, I've had to drive 3 hours, like starting the drive at like 11 or midnight, after having already like driven once and performed comedy and potentially had to work that day already. It's a fun life. But exactly, you get my point. That is so at one point, I won't say I ever, don't be me, but my strategy for staying in the car is constantly, or staying awake in a drive like that is constantly having some sort of oral stimulation, pause. But what I'll do is I'll either be sipping a caffeinated beverage or I'll be smoking a spliff. Don't tell the state troopers. Or I'll be eating a snack. If you're constantly doing one of those 3 things, it's hard to actually fall asleep at the wheel. However, I was doing the drive, like the second time I had to do the drive, just like a truck had like half in the middle of between the 2 cities, a truck had like, not like jackknife, but I don't know how, but a truck was fully sideways on the highway and the highway was just stopped for like an hour. So that drive, and once I was in the sitting portion of it, and I'm not driving, you're just sitting in your car. This cops are all around, so I can no longer smoke. The spliff helps because it's tobacco. It's not just the weed of it. Tobacco, that's also part of the equation. So I say oral fixation, but it's also a constant strain of stimulants and or sugar. But I can't do that while I'm sitting. So that time the drive almost got to me. I decided for those drives to just keep an emergency Celsius in my car. Because if you've never drank Celsius, it's like, it's crazy, bro. Like, I think if I drank a whole one in like one sitting, I for real think I would be in the hospital based on my experience of it now. Like I said, I've been working on this one since at least last Wednesday. I've had a bunch of shows, a bunch of late night drives, just hit a couple sips. This is what you came here for. It's Celsius talk. Also, when I was thinking about Celsius talk, you know what's crazy is Panera Bread had a beverage that killed people. And we moved past it. They don't have it anymore. But Panera Bread had that like energy lemonade or some shit. And like 2 people died and the government was like, hey, y'all got to cut that out. Panera had an energy drink that killed people? Where our country is trending nutritionally, and I think I would say you've already heard me talk about protein, but as I mentioned before, the protein episode was the least listened to. But where our country is going with its protein consumption, combined with where it's going with our like caffeine consumption, like what are we trying to make ourselves as people? Does that make sense? Like I guess we're just like trying to like energy max our bodies. We're trying to like, I don't know. It just feels like as a society, like we should be at least once a day at my job. Now I'll just have a moment where I'm like, man, I should just be like by a stream, you know? But it's like I don't know, the way we are all as a society just pushing our bodies to do the most they possibly can at all times. That's whack, man. Hopefully, honestly, the two scenarios are we keep going until we all just explode, or we hit some point where we're like, hey, we got to just our vibes alone, relax. Welcome to the show. I'm gonna hit the Red Bull, not the Celsius. I don't need the Celsius. See, but you also know I've had my sleepy episodes. It's never happening again. Emergency Celsius. I'm gonna drink the Red Bull and we're gonna talk about other stuff. All right. I don't really. Not rarely. I don't think I've ever plugged my live shows on this podcast yet. As you have to know, I'm a stand-up comedian who performs all over the Pacific Northwest. But this week, I'm really excited to be back in Portland for the Northwest Black Comedy Festival presented by Dirty Angel Entertainment. That is The Real Hijinks and DJ Wildchild, a.k.a. Courtney Collins. Man, these two, I would just say this is like the most, as long as I do comedy, I like am promising to myself, and like as much as I will move mountains in whatever way as I can throughout my life to make sure this is always something I come back to. Dirty Angel Entertainment, Hijinks, and Wildchild, those are like two of the most important figures, and I think like in Portland, creativity, the art, I guess the art space, performance art, like definitely not just comedy, definitely like in the way they try to pull all different types of black art in Portland, and specifically like all around the country at this point through their festival together, is very special. When I started doing stand-up comedy in Portland, they had an open mic. They still have an open mic, but they had an open mic I went to, and it was definitely the first place like I found a sense of community doing stand-up comedy. It was the first place, like, I don't know. I always credit them with like me still doing comedy because basically like I got started maybe like a year and a half into doing stand-up, like just started getting solid and like having a little bit of motion in the city, running my own shows, this or that. And then the pandemic hit, and it took me probably like 4 years to start doing comedy again. And I didn't, it wasn't 100% sure. Like there's a good chance I never started again, and I definitely would not have started again, I think, if their space didn't exist. Because, you know, after you leave a scene, and especially how I did, but after you leave a scene for so long, and I don't know, you already, where I was in life, had a lot going on. I just got out of rehab. I had my kid. I put my life together from the shambles it was in pre-rehab, I guess you could say. And so I was just at a really vulnerable time, and, you know, performing stand-up's an extremely vulnerable thing to do. And I don't know if I would have had the strength to like go to where some strangers or just like people I kind of knew or people I didn't really, like, you know what I mean, had just heard of. I just needed a space to come back to that felt like a community and that had people in it I was excited to see and that were happy to see me. But yeah, that's just, and they were the first people to like really believe in me and put me on shows in the first place. I got just a ton of experience doing shows all around Oregon within my first year of doing comedy because of them. They really believed in me and they really gave me a ton of opportunities. Still to this day are giving me a ton of opportunities. And they're just they're just my parents, you know. They're the people. I don't know. They've just done the most besides my personal mom to get me to where I am today in terms of like support and love and tough love and all that. And what they've done with this festival, the Northwest Black Comedy Festival, I believe this is a decade of doing this festival. It's grown so much from being at a couple different spaces, a couple different, you know, mid to smaller size places to, excuse me, last year and this year being at Curious Comedy Theater in Portland. I think this week, oh, look at the dates. I think it starts the 16th or the 17th rather and goes to the 22nd. I will be there the 20th and the 21st and probably the 22nd, but definitely the 20th and 21st in the evenings at Curious Comedy Theater performing. You can catch me those 2 days, but also go to the festival the rest of the days. I got to pull up the official document to make sure I'm plugging everything correctly. The dates. Bam, February 16th to the 22nd. So yeah, starting tomorrow. You could look up Dirty Angel Entertainment on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you use. Courtney Collins, The Real Hijinks, Northwest Black Comedy Festival. Look up any of those things. You'll find tickets. I'll be posting about it all week. It's going to be great. There's going to be black comedians from literally all over the world. Some of the best from every corner of this country as well. I've met, you know, a lot of us. This is my third year doing it, and there's a lot of people who've been doing it for years. So that's even a community that, you know, has been created that is awesome. And there's so many niggas I can't wait to see and that I know are, I can't wait to go to every show, man. I love comedy. I love black people. As you know, those are two of my primary areas of interest. I can't and I won't recommend anything more highly than I recommend if you're in Portland, anywhere in the Pacific Northwest, this entire week, and especially this weekend, Northwest Black Comedy Festival, hosted or presented by Dirty Angel Entertainment at Curious Comedy Theater in Portland every night. Yeah. So the first half of this, we'll see what I get to topic-wise. Next topic I want to talk about is it's Black History Month, as you know. I don't know if I've mentioned it on here, but it is every episode is Black History episode, but it is Black History Month. So I'm a reader. I'm I'm not like a voracious reader, but I'm at a point in my life where I be moving through some pages. You know what I'm saying? And for Black History Month, of course, I was like, let me read some stuff about black people, some black authors, some, you know, lesser known black stories. Tried to read some W.E.B. Du Bois essays. I gotta find they're dense, not dense. But I try to do them in audiobook forms, and those are things. There's some things you're like, I can't read this audiobook form. I need to read this. So we're putting a pause on Du Bois until I can get some physical copies. But one of the books I read, I heard basically one of my favorite podcast. If you had to listen to one podcast based off of me saying you should, I don't. To me, the one podcast I can't live without right now is this podcast called Jenkins and Jones. It masquerades as a basketball, quote unquote, basketball and sports podcast, and that's definitely like the center-ish of the universe, but it gets into a lot of, you know, political, social, whatever, cultural, black, and it's just stuff, just the shit I'm into. Think about the shit I talk about, they also talk about. And basically they were plugging episode of the Bomani Jones podcast. If you don't know Bomani Jones, one of the most important black sports journalists right now. I don't know about of all time. I'm only because I'm not up on sports journalism like that, but I definitely know Bomani is one of the best journalists right now doing it, especially in the field of sports. And on his podcast, I wish I could remember the name of the man who wrote this book, but he had the author of this book called Kings and Pawns, which is the story of Jackie Robinson and Paul Robeson. Kings and, I'm sorry, I want to give this author credit. Book. And it's a story about, like I said, Jackie Robinson. Howard Bryant's the name of the author. Howard Bryant wrote this book called Kings and Pawns. It's about Paul Robeson and Jackie Robinson. You probably might not know who Paul Robeson is. I didn't, so I'm assuming you. I'm a learned black person. And I didn't know who he was. So you're if you're listening to this, you're more than likely not black. That's just the analytics. So I don't think you've probably heard of him. Why did I say that? Anyway, it was a fascinating story because this person, Paul Robeson, was someone I hadn't heard of before, and I'm gonna talk to you briefly about their life, but what you'll come to find is it's essentially because of McCarthyism and the Cold War and the climate in America politically in that time. He was essentially erased from history in a large part. And there's been some addendums done. But let me just talk to you about his life. Quick summary: Paul Robeson, born in Princeton, New Jersey, in 1915, becomes one of the first black students, or 1917, becomes one of the first black students at Rutgers, earns All-American honors in football, played football, basketball, baseball, and track, and was class valedictorian at Rutgers. In 1923, he earned a law degree from Columbia Law School. In 1920 and 1928, he becomes internationally famous for playing the title role in Othello in London's West End. He also basically integrated Broadway after, I guess I didn't say this, but after he also was in the NFL and is a college football Hall of Famer, 2-time All-American, law degree, actor, as I mentioned, played Othello. What's the Othello legacy? In 1943, he starred in Othello on Broadway. The production runs 296 performances, making it the longest-running Broadway Shakespeare production at that time. So just giving you an idea of how multifaceted he was. This is an NFL player, college football Hall of Famer, graduates, gets a law degree, then becomes the first black actor to, I think, star in a Broadway play. Incredibly, you're like, how haven't I heard this person? I was like, same, how haven't I heard this person? And aside from just being on the stage, he also becomes one of the first black film actors to achieve international fame. He also had some singing stuff, but I don't think I'm kind of just rattling through a list. He also was a acclaimed singer. I don't know what the metrics he had there. He wasn't like Grammy winning or anything, but he was also a really famous singer. So extremely accomplished performer, someone who had, like I said, the highest educational and athletic honors. And then basically in 1950, the U.S. government revoked his passport and he got blacklisted from performing in the United States. If we'd like to know why, basically in the 1930s, he starts traveling around the world and talking about fascism and supporting anti-fascist stuff. In the 1930s, he basically started supporting labor unions and worker movements, showing up at picket lines, like performing for unions. He criticized segregation and argued that basically Black Americans should not support a country that denied them full citizenship rights. And that would basically be one of the things that gets him blacklisted ultimately. Is he kind of the most inciting moment in his life was in the 1949 Paris Peace Conference. Basically, he said that Black people, if the U.S. were to fight the Soviet Union in a war, this is height of the Cold War, he said in France, he said, also in the book it says, they don't really know he said this, and it seems like he was misquoted, but he was quoted as saying Black people should not fight for the United States, in a war against USSR. And after that, he kind of started publicly praising the Soviet Union, and basically, like, he accepted an award from the Soviet Union, like the Stalin Peace Award or whatever. So again, this is at the height of the communist movement in America, the Red Scare, McCarthyism, all of that. And yeah, he was he was just such a fascinating figure to have never heard about. The book is about basically his relationship with Jackie Robinson. I don't believe they ever actually officially meet, but what happens is Jackie Robinson, the story is also about Jackie Robinson, who I am gonna earnestly say, like, I'm still standing 10 toes down on, like, supporting Jackie Robinson as a figure and validating his importance as a figure and the advancement of the movement of Black people, or the advancement and the progress or civil rights of Black people, whatever, all that. I didn't know until reading this book and hearing the author talk about it that Jackie Robinson basically was like a polarizing figure while he was alive. Basically, Jackie Robinson was like the person who got Jackie Robinson onto the Dodgers. This dude named Branch Rickey, these guys are like super Republican and like super. This is again at the time where it's the Red Scare, the Cold War. These dudes are, at least Branch Rickey is super American, super anti-communist, super like whatever imperial shit America's got going on and anti-communist action America has going on, and trying to do whatever he can with his amount of power politically to advance that cause. And because this dude Branch Rickey is the dude who is the reason Jackie is able to integrate. He's, I think, the general manager of the Dodgers, and he's the person who took a chance on having Jackie Robinson, be on his team when that obviously was a super controversial thing to do. This dude Branch Rickey basically influences Jackie Robinson into publicly speaking out against Paul Robeson in this in this, basically there was this committee in Congress called HUAC. I can't exactly remember what it stands for, but they had a hearing essentially about Paul Robeson, and they had Jackie Robinson essentially testify and say, like, hey, Black people are not, this is after Paul Robeson says Black people would not fight against the Soviet Union and says some like generally pro-Soviet things. Jackie, because of Branch Rickey, comes out at this conference, at this hearing, and basically says, hey, Black people, we don't stand with that. What he did was like, we condemn it, and he did the classic thing of what a lot of people said to Paul Robeson at this time was some form of like, the fact that you even have the freedom to say that shows that America is better than the Soviet Union, which rhetorically worked as an argument because, Soviet Union then and Russia now, definitely free speech is not at the same level it is, however you feel about the American version of free speech. But yeah, so basically Jackie Robinson testifies at this hearing and kind of keeps the same energy, I wouldn't say for the rest of his life, but until he gets much older, it doesn't seem like he has a lot of basically by the end of his life, it seems like he regrets coming out against Paul Robeson, and his wife, I believe, at the end, when she's interviewed after he dies, says she believes it was one of his biggest regrets, because of what he did. I can't believe what exactly Malcolm X called. I think Malcolm X, because Jackie Robinson testified, I think Malcolm X called him an Uncle Tom. So that's just the type of time it was on, where because of what he did, a lot of the more black radical people of the time, and even some people who are not super radical, I think W.E.B. Du Bois and Paul Robeson were actually homies. So if you know anything about Du Bois, that's intellectually, and in terms of articulating the experience and struggle of black people throughout history. And also Du Bois's life is crazy if you don't know, because Du Bois was there from literally Harriet Tubman to Martin Luther King. Anyway, so basically, because of this hearing, you have this what ends up happening is Jackie Robinson is on a side against some of the greatest or most lauded and respected and probably important black civil rights figures of all time. And that's just not really something that I ever really was aware of. I think I saw the movie when it came out. And either way, I just got the kind of middle school, yeah, I think that was a middle school cursory, bullet points history of Jackie Robinson's life. It was he was born and then they let him play, but his life is actually a lot more interesting. And ultimately the book is really sad because by the end, both people are kind of men without country, because Jackie Robinson is kind of trying. He's not fully quote unquote coon or Uncle Tom. It's clear he's kind of being manipulated, and it's also clear he's on the side of black people should I think it's I don't know if this is the best way to say it, but almost stay in line, and we should do what we can to not fuck up the progress we've already made by asking for too much or being too radical, and being kind of grateful for the progress that we have achieved in the country. And I was gonna be I can see that. I generally can't see that. And I guess that's because I think hopefully I bought Zai, Malcolm X's autobiography, because I also just read Malcolm X's autobiography. So hopefully next week we'll have a little book club on that, because I really think I think that's there's a lot to get to. But probably because I just finished that yesterday, it's really hard for me to empathize with the idea that black people should have any sort of gratitude to white people, or any sort of complacency about where we are in terms of racial progress, quote unquote. So yeah, I can't really go, but I can understand, especially someone who is in Jackie Robinson's position, who is already his legacy's set. You know what I mean? He did it. His life wasn't really easy after that point, because that he wanted to be a manager, and they were you're lucky we let you play, boy. Manage these white boys? No. So Whatever. So the rest of his life was frustrating. Like I said, he became a man without country because if you sidle up to white people, you kind of isolate yourself from black people, and you're never really connected to the white people. The white people only see you as a means to get to whatever their ends are in terms of communicating with the black, or communicating or manipulating or whatever the black community. And so, yeah, by the end of his life, Jackie Robinson, it seemed like he I don't know if the book made it sound maybe sadder than it actually was, but it definitely seemed like a lot of the people that helped him get to where he were, or a lot of the people who are like, he thought would look out for him. Not look out for him. He didn't get to ride off into the sunset, I guess, in the way you think a legend would, or the way his story probably ends if you watch the movie. And for Paul Robeson, after Jackie Robinson gave that speech, or that hearing at the, I'm going to say it wrong every time, gave that speech at the hearing. That was correct, though. Gave that speech at the hearing. Paul Robeson's passport got revoked, which really fucked him up because he was blacklisted from the United States, and he ostensibly could have had a career overseas because, like I said, he had moved through Europe and the world doing a lot. Like, I think there was a war in the Spanish Revolution? I don't know. There was a war in Europe at some point in the time, and he was like on the front lines. Not on the front lines, but he like came through for the troops and like performed for them and shit. So he was like active globally and like a huge anti-fascist. And so he ultimately, when his passport got revoked for however many years because the government basically let this one lady have control over who could and couldn't leave the country, and she also revoked Du Bois and some other people's passports. But either way, so by the time he got his passport back, he was able to move to London and I live presumably more comfortably than he lived in the United States. Because one of the things that's crazy, bro, is like the type of racism they had back then. Oh, every time you read y'all gotta read like Black Hit, like please do. Like I said, I just read Malcolm X's book, and reading the Paul Robeson book, some of the the types of violence black people were subjected to were so crazy, bro. This dude Paul Robeson, he had a concert. He actually ended up having two concerts at this place, and I want to say New Jersey. I can't remember, but it was like an hour or two from New York. And basically after he made some like semi pro-communist comments, maybe this was after the infamous like black people won't serve speech, basically hundreds of like veterans like showed up with rocks and just like hailed rocks at him and his motorcade's cars as they were trying to leave, and then started like pulling people out of the cars and trying to find him so they could kill him, just with rocks. And they said that they came back and tried to like do another show and be like, nah, fuck y'all, we're doing the show anyway. And they just came with like more rocks. And they said they when they tried to leave, the people were just standing by like piles of rocks, and then there'd be like children and like families there just like pelting these niggas with rocks. And like that was like no one went to jail. They just knew it happened, and the cops were like, they like told the cops to like, hey, can you guys try and make sure people don't hail rocks at us? And the cops were like, we actually can't do that because we're also going to be hailing rocks at you guys. So crazy. Basically he lost his passport. He couldn't leave the country where they were throwing rocks at him to go somewhere where they wouldn't throw rocks at him. And yeah, ultimately, by the end of his life, the FBI had been like probing him and fucking with him the entirety of his life, as you can imagine. Seemed like he was really defeated. And the book ultimately is like, I definitely recommend it. Like I said, it's called Kings and Pawns by Howard Bryant. But as with a lot of Black history stories, it's not a happy ending per se. I'll tell you that. Yeah, we did a Black history segment. I was like, I gotta parse. It's hard when you ever read a book and then someone's like, "What was that book about?" And you're like, "Blah blah 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 blah." So I think I did a decent job of walking through the book. I'm gonna sip this Red Bull. Okay. Some shit I cannot believe is happening during Black History Month is whatever. A couple days ago, someone in Minnesota, they were having there was ICE agents doing some ICE shit, and there were some protesters yelling at the ICE agents, throwing snowballs, whatever. And it's caught on video. There's a video of a black ICE agent, and all you can hear is the crowd around him, verbally harassing him, hurling their jeers his way. And one of the people in the crowd calls him a house nigger. And it's been revealed and confirmed, I guess, by whoever it is job to confirm that the person who did that was a white person. Maybe you've seen this by now, maybe you haven't. It just came across my TikTok desk yesterday. And the discourse that is spun out about it makes me feel crazy. Because how I found out about it is one of the most important hip-hop journalists of all time, without question, Toure, follow Toure on whatever, had a TikTok about it, and their take was basically, and a lot of people's take has been, maybe this was okay because it's right. And historically, a black person who's doing work on the behalf of white supremacy to protect and uphold the institutions of white supremacy, historically, based on the dynamics that existed on the plantation and the house nigger, field nigger dichotomy, it is correct. Therefore, this white person, maybe we give him a pass. I'm not saying everyone's saying this. I've just seen 2 TikToks where this was a sentiment, and I've scrolled through the comment section, and there were people generally agreeing. I saw a lot of white people agreeing, which made me feel insane. Anyway, I don't care if it's accurate. Like, what are we doing? What do you mean a white person can say what? During Black History, I just feel like I don't know why it being historically accurate matters. I think we don't really, you don't see white people, and you shouldn't calling black people Uncle Toms or coons or any other slur. I can't believe people think any version of the hard R, any version of nigga. I do a joke about it. I don't even like that white people can say Negro. I don't understand it. And let's leave aside whether or not it's right or wrong for a white person to say house N-word. Black people. Do we really think it's a good idea to go around on the internet posting that in some situations white people can say nigger? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you know white people? Do you know how many, at this point, countless white people have seen black people or read about black people being like, hey, I guess in this case, white people can say the N-word. What do you think white people are going to do about that? You think white people have the power of discernment? Even if that one learned white did have the power of discernment and had read all the necessary W.E.B. Du Bois and Franz Fanon. Let's say they did the knowledge. They read the latest Ta-Nehisi Coates, whatever. Why during Black History Month are we telling white people that there's ever a scenario that they can say the word in? Like, if you're brave, whitey, just be brave. We don't need to give them any more incentive. We don't need to tell them that. And also, they shouldn't. Just like flat out. It makes me feel crazy. I don't spin the block on topics a lot, but once I get back on, we're spinning the block on that because I just that it's historically accurate. I tried to find like, it doesn't work perfectly, but let's say like, so in this scenario, it's accurate that this person was being a house nigger, right? There would never be a scenario in which we would let a white person be like, well, that person's a field nigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because, I get it, like, that one is inherently derogatory, but both of them exist because the white supremacist power structure that created the dichotomy, right? So not to absolve house niggers from being, I'm gonna stop saying with the hard R because I don't have to. Not to absolve house niggas from being house niggas, but house niggas only exist because of the house. If it wasn't for the house, we would all just be niggas. Or the house in the field. I don't know. I thought I nailed it, and then I was like, wait, if it wasn't for the plantation, there it is. If it wasn't for the plantation, we would all just be niggas. White people, don't ever say that shit. If I catch you saying that shit, listen, I'm not the type of nigga that's gonna do anything to you. Just on some like, I'm avoidant. I'm anxious avoidant. What up? But if you take nothing else from this, take that I don't want you to say it. Okay? One more Red Bull. We're not even gonna hit the Celsius again. So Obama came out and said that aliens are real, and why did he do that? If you the clip is crazy because the interviewer, I don't even remember the specific question the interviewer asked, but the interviewer asked him a question that wasn't specifically about aliens. It was like, what's like the craziest thing you learned as president? And Obama just goes, aliens are real. And the guy's just like, what's crazy is the guy tries to move past it. That's the craziest part of the thing. Is the former president goes, aliens are real. And the interviewer goes, and my next question, no follow-up on the president saying aliens are real? I'd be like, this is the rest of the show. Whatever we did before this will be cut. The next however long you're willing to talk is now the episode of whatever show this is because the president just said there's aliens. But the follow-up question was like, what was the first thing you wanted to know when you became president? And Obama's like, where the aliens were. And it's my take on it is it's hella thirsty, right? Obama, again, unprompted, offers up that there's aliens. The interviewer tries to move on. Then Obama's really like, I don't think you heard me. I said there's aliens. And I might have to go find the rest of it to see if like the interviewer is just like, yeah, and I heard you. Like, I don't give a fuck. I have a script. Because it reads as thirsty. Not my play here. So this is either, and I don't want to give him this much credit. It's either genius marketing or an insane level of narcissism. Because I just found out they just dropped the Michelle Obama documentary. I don't know what it is. There's a Michelle Obama thing on Netflix. So the same week your wife has something dropping on Netflix, you're on a podcast as the former president talking about aliens. Galaxy, generous, good faith take is, okay, he's just trying to get the name Obama more traffic online because all press is good press. But what it really feels like is my brother is like, Michelle sure is getting a lot of attention right now. There's aliens. There's aliens. Aliens. And everyone's like, Barack, will you say something? No. I don't know. Maybe I'll have this be a poll. Vote on, do you think good hero husband or hell husband? Obama be thirsty for attention. I want to give him, it's not even fun anymore. Because, like, listen, okay, it's Black History Month. I know Obama's a complex figure. Anything negative I want to say, I'm not going to say because it's Black History Month. That's the most difficult part about, and I think Cat Williams did a good joke about this, where he's like, white people, we would be willing to like criticize Obama if you would just like stop doing it so loudly for a second, because then we feel like we gotta defend him. That's how it feels with Obama, where it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna stamp everything he's ever done, but I'm not about to publicly contribute to or support like negative discourse about the only black president, you know what I mean? Because of how much of that is just like a proxy for racism, i.e. the sitting president posting a video of Obama and his wife as monkeys, which like I talk about it. I've talked about it before maybe, but the Trump posting Obama and Michelle as monkeys we're in such a fucked up place news-wise. I saw that and I was like, I don't care, because like there's not going to be any morsel of accountability. You know what I mean? I was like, he did that. I can't pay it any more attention because it's just going to make me mad. So, that is the reason, what Trump did, the reason as a black person, I'm not really gonna besmirch Obama's name too much. I do think his playlist he puts out every end of the year is, I think it's rage bait at this point. What was I gonna talk about? So my political theory. This isn't a political theory. My theory of what's gonna happen with American politics next election cycle is everyone thinks it's gonna be like some sort of like Gavin Newsom versus JD Vance mid-off, which somehow that's best case scenario. In a fucked up world, Gavin Newsom versus JD Vance is maybe best case scenario for the next election. And I say that because I heard someone theorize it once, and since then it hasn't left my brain, the idea that Trump's going to try and get the term limit lifted so he can run again, and that's going to activate the Democrat trap card, and so they'll run Obama, and so the next election is going to be a Obama versus Trump Avengers Endgame of American politics style election. And that sounds garbage for sure. That's why I think it's going to happen. It also feels like the end point of just the America right now, where we're just like, yeah, we cannot create any new monuments at this point, like culturally. Like there are no big tent things. Everything is small and contained, and like we're rehashing the same things at this point over and over. There's always a new X superhero. There's always a new Mario. There's always you know what I mean? All these things that are just going to constantly cycle through. So it feels like inevitably we're going to get an election that's like, you know, the two presidents of our time really duking it out. Once again, I need you to understand, I don't endorse this. I don't even know if it makes logical or political sense, but vibes-wise and how things are trending from the vibes perspective, I would go on Kalshi right now and put down a little something on Trump versus Obama 2028 election. Who cares who wins? We're all going to die. Oh, shit. I got to plug my computer in. Oh, Jesus, fuck. Boy, I hit that 5%, boy. Woo. I'm not going to edit out the Jesus fuck. But I just looked at my computer, it's like 5%, and we're deep into the show. If I lost, ooh, boy. I can't even access the feeling of thinking about all right, last Red Bull, and we're going into the home stretch. They really do seem like I'm sponsored. I'm going to stop talking about them until they send the check. All right. Kind of a cool thing. Not to anyone but me, but when this podcast started, it was the last season of Love is Blind, and now the podcast is still happening, and there's a new season of Love is Blind. So Creme World has existed through an entire Love is Blind hiatus, which is the most difficult time of year. It's good because this is the hiatus that has the NBA, but now we're just hyper into my interests. Love is Blind season 10 in Ohio. What's hilarious is they usually do it in one cool city, and now they're just like, Ohio. Who you got? Man, I don't. The funniest thing about the season now from a meta perspective, I'm gonna try and be broad strokes. So if you don't watch the show, I think you'll still be able to enjoy this. But if you do, lock in. And if you don't and want to tap out, thank you for listening so far. Anyway, don't do that though. Why did I even suggest it? Anyway, usually on Love is Blind, what they have is 5. Historically, I think it's only been 5. Maybe it was 6 once before, but historically, I think it's been 5 couples who they, put through the process. If you don't know, a bunch of people all date without being able to see each other. 5 couples basically make it through that process and get engaged, and they meet each other, and then they have to live with each other over 8 weeks and decide whether or not at the end of that 8 weeks they actually want to get married. Sociologically, I don't want to say fascinating, makes it sound like too intellectual and like I'm trying to be like, I'm learning, I'm studying people. And like, I don't know, it's beautiful garbage. It's delicious trash to me. I think about a lot of reality dating now as kind of like the emotional Coliseum. The idea of the Coliseum just being like where whatever heinous shit is allowed to happen, like from a physical perspective for our entertainment. What we've done now with reality television and the Love is Blind and Love Island and 90 Day Fiance and all these things is turned romance into the Coliseum, basically being like, what are the most like high stress and like really, I don't know, emotionally charged situations we can create and just see how people react to them. Like, how can we make couples like second guess each other? And, they're just built for manipulating people into being cutthroat and not even it's the Coliseum. You get the metaphor. And usually they have 5 couples, like I said. Last season, I believe for the first time, not a single couple got married. And usually the weddings are electric because they make, and again, this is another element of the Coliseum. They make you, if you decide whether or not you're going to marry that person, generally at the altar, you both find out together in real time whether or not you're getting married in front of your friends and family, and a lot of people, a decent bit of people, I don't know what the percentage is, get ostensibly left at the altar. That's kind of the emotional climax of the show. And last year, none got married, and what's happening now is I think couples or just people on the show have been getting wise to being like, if I think I'm going to say no, I'm going to try to say no before we get to the wedding where I have to do that in front of all of our friends and family and embarrass this person and have a whole thing, which makes a lot of sense, but makes the TV not as good. So last year, from a mix of just dog shit people, I don't remember any of them, but generally, dog shit people, and, the cast becoming somewhat conscious of what the show is trying to do. There were just no couples that got married, and I think there were only like 2 weddings. So what's happening from a meta standpoint this season they've gone to 7 couples. They're like, someone is getting married. We will not have, you can see there's a concerted effort to be like, we will not have another season where no one gets married, because the show looks like a failure. And, they like to pretend like this experiment is so blah, 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 blah. But the actual success rate is comically low. And, at last season, it's at its lowest it's ever been. Love is Blind is the ultimate show for me. I can be very critical of shows, and I can get like tired of shows quickly, and I can just have a very short lease with shows. I can be like, as soon as I don't start not liking a show, I'm just done with it. I don't feel loyalty to really any television shows, except for, you already know about the shows I feel loyalty to besides this one. It's Great British Bake Off and Netflix's hit series Is It Cake, starring Mikey Day. Tap in if you haven't. But this one too, where I think the last 2 seasons have been bad, and that doesn't affect me. Every time a season's bad, next season I'm like, I'm ready to be heard again. I'm ready. Like, they won't be bad twice. And I don't think last season was terrible. I think 2 seasons ago was the dog shit one. Anyway, for my real Love is Blind heads, I'm gonna look at all the couples and just give you my rundown of the couple that I think are gonna make it so far, and just my general thoughts about them. I'm so sorry. Okay, first couple, Alex H and Ashley. Alex H, this is the soccer player and the tall blonde white lady. I don't know if she's tall. These two peaked in high school. These two could make it. I don't think they will, but they could, because they definitely both peaked in high school and have the same kind of like, I don't know, aren't we so special? Like, I'm an underdog. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's just something annoying about them in the same way where I think they could work. Alex, the dude, he has not sad, because I actually don't care about like a white guy not being able to go pro at soccer. But he thinks it's really, he clearly wishes he was still a professional soccer player. And I don't know if she's going to be able to rock with that. She seems like she probably doesn't respect soccer, but she's pretending to, which, that's love. Next couple, Chris and Jessica. This nigga Chris gives me serial killer vibes. I'm going to keep it a buck. I don't like his face. I don't like his vibe. Nothing wrong with the homie. He just looked like that. Jessica, his partner, an internal medicine nurse. She seems like a gem. That's why I think Chris is going to be a sneaky villain of this season. There's a woman where you're just like, you're a little older, you have a very like nice way about you, you're like a gentle spirit, and I can just tell some dude's going to come, like, I know this show, some dude's going to come through and be like, pow, pow, pow. So praying for her. She kind of looked like Demi Lovato. Connor and Breezy, these people are cooked. These people are absolutely cooked. Connor looks like a police officer. He talks about being insecure. I'm not going to make fun of him for that. But the girl he's with, Breezy, first of all, white people, you can't have a name like Breezy. It's too cool. Breezy at the pool party, Breezy, she likes Chris, I believe. And at the pool party, she just started getting real thirsty about it, but was putting it in, tried to generalize it. She was just weird. Her whole, if you watch, she had this whole aura where she was like, we're all just pretending we didn't go through this insane experience, and we're just ripping shots, and we're not acknowledging. It was just the most annoying spiel. So they're cooked, and I'm not really rooting for either of them. Connor seems like a good guy. He just looked like a cop. Man, this next couple, Devontae and Brittany W. This nigga Devontae, I don't really think it's not really my beat to just be like, niggas is ugly. But he has kind of like he's like a shitty dude. You know? He has an ugly spirit as well. This dude just like, the girl he's with is like half black and half Latina, and he's just like He's also mixed, by the way. He's half black, half white, it appears. And she's mixed, but with no white. And he seems very thrown off by that. And it's so weird because, like, in my opinion, of all the women this season, she is a smoke show. And so what happened theoretically is you, like, fell in love with this beautiful woman, having never seen her. Then you see her, and it is a beautiful woman, and you're just like, I can't go because she's half Latino or half black. It seems really weird. I'm not. That's not me saying, like, that's not me making that up. He multiple times is like, I've never dated. He says it in codes, but it sounds like he's saying I've never dated a non-white woman. But he doesn't say that specifically. He's like, I've never dated that ethnicity where it's like Latino or black, because so yeah, bro's a big weirdo. Free that girl. I think they're not gonna make it farther because you don't really see their faces in the promo for the next one. Next couple is Vic and Christine. Yeah, this is if I had to throw money on any of the couples to make it so far, it would be them. Vic, just a real cool guy. Christine, white lady that seems like she has the mental. She was like I'm not saying you have to be like a smart white woman to be with a nigga, because that's definitely not true. But she's like he seems like a smart, thoughtful, self-respecting, like, hardworking, self-sufficient nigga, and she seems thoughtful and, like, conscious, like a conscientious, socially conscious person. I don't know why I was having such a hard time articulating that. It's hard to tell because, they haven't really gone that deep. But if you know the show, generally, there's one couple where you're just like, we don't even need to see them, low-key. Everything we see with them is just, they're just like, yeah, we still love each other, bye. I'm hoping that's them because they seem cool. And, another thing, the first Love is Blind episode, I mentioned the thing, how every season there was a couple with two black people. We had the two mixed people, but this one's not the same. Is it? Damn. Well, mixed people are black, so there are two black people together this season. I'm gonna have to sit with that. Because I was going to say there's not. I don't want to do colorism. We're not doing colorism. Okay. Next couple is Mike and Emma. These people are cooked. You see couples who do this thing where it's like, you're both clearly just so excited to be in love and be on a TV show, but you both are staring at the fundamental flaw in your relationship and just acting like it's going to get fixed. And it's not. She very clearly doesn't want to have kids. He almost like cannot stop hounding her about how much she wants to have kids. And they're just kind of blowing past that. He's going to get really upset. And I don't know. I feel, I don't know. They're both kind of annoying. I'm going to keep it a buck. Emma, she has a really nice story. She seemed annoying. The last couple is Jordan and Amber. I like Jordan. I don't understand what type of white lady Amber is. I never seen that genre of white lady. She's like she's like a vintage Barbie, but like I think she's like young 30s. Anyway, I don't want to do too much in that field of conversation. She's just, there's something off about her. And if you watched, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like autism or like some sort of like tick. There's something off about her. I can't put my nose on it. it seems, based on the previews, like they're going to have some sort of falling out. So whoop-de-doo. That was Love is Blind talk. Talking Love is Blind. Love is, in fact, not blind. Love is love. That's all we got. Make sure you come out to the Northwest Black Comedy Festival if you're in Portland or anywhere in the Pacific North. I mean, even if you're in Brussels, fly out. Even if you're in Cancun, fly out. Even if you're in Rio de Janeiro, fly out, man. I'm doing accents this late into the podcast. I can't be doing that. Thank you. I'm Creme Brulee. Follow me on with the social medias at Creme Brulee 2D. Like the podcast. Give it a rating. Follow it on whatever you follow it on. Leave a comment. And that's it. You're dismissed. Girls, they want to have fun. Girls just don't want to have fun.
Yes, Creme.